Hi, I'm
lost when I feel like nothing. Always feel like I'm running. Both feel we're living worlds apart. It's fucked now, we lost in limbo. Remembering what you said though, when I asked you if we'd make it far. That one last kiss that they write about, my one last wish you could never doubt. I trust angels who fly away from you, and you've told me that we'd never die. Gave me so many reasons why we were meant to be. Then she said no, 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 no. No, 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 you should. I've earned the cost and now I've paid it. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, please don't go. I know my face a memory erasing. Been a few years since I heard your voice, yeah. Lost a few here, but it's not by choice, no. Girl, I see your face every day when I look through my phone. Can't delete all these memories, won't leave me alone. Hit my blind side, never saw you coming. You were so wild, but no, I was nothing. And I'm nothing now, nothing's changed. You know I'm just the same. Miss you now, but I hope that someday you explain. That one last kiss that they write about, my one last wish you could never doubt. I trust angels who fly away from you, and you've told me that we'd never die. Gave me so many reasons why we were meant to be.
Good morning. How's everyone doing? Hope you are well. Let me know. Mic check. And can you see me? Let me know. Hey everyone, good to see you all. Good to see you all. Hello. Let's see who we got. Who was first today? Ash77, ICU, Stars, Callie, Amber K, Marilyn, Lily Black, Pebbles, Shannon, Stars, hi, Emma, Jenna, Jessica, SB, Daisy, Wise Old Lady, Angie, Pebbles, Casey, Southern Grammy, Frazzled, Roberts Girl, Cotton Candy, Michelle G, Pat, Lori. Hello. Good to see Sheila. Good to see you, Roberts. Hello, everyone. Great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. Yep, I'm nosy. Thank you so much, my love. I appreciate you. Good to see you, honey. Thank you, Michelle Tucker. It's very kind of you. Thank you so much. I look radiant today. Well, thank you. I wish I felt radiant, but I don't. No, I feel fine. I'm just kidding. I haven't been live in a few days, and it's there's just not really been a lot of updates in true crime, which is a great thing. I mean, it's kind of a great thing, when uh, there's no updates. Hopefully, you know, you don't want, especially with kids. But we do have a couple things to go over today. Gina, good to see you, love. I don't think we got off Marissa's last night until like 1 o'clock or something, and I have to get up at 5 a.m. So there's that. I'm going to be doing hopefully a live this evening with some of my current favorite fragrances. I thought that would be cool. I love fragrances. It's yes. Do I follow the lab? Of course. Josh is my buddy. Talk to him all the time, almost daily, actually. Yeah, Josh is a very good guy, very good friend. So a couple things I wanted to go over, two main stories and a couple things to touch on, some very kind of weird information. But, as it's 2023, the world is weird, everything is weird. DNA, but her parents didn't take the DNA test. I wonder why. Really, Pebbles? Interesting. Yeah, guys, if you don't mind, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Um, Diddy, I missed the one last night with Josh. Unfortunately, I had to go to bed early, but I will catch it sometimes today, I'm sure. So Stephen Smith, we know Stephen Smith is kind of the Alec Murdaugh entanglement, if you will. He was an openly gay young man who was in literally the heart of South Carolina. He died at a very young age, very strange circumstances around his death. And there needs to be justice for him. I'm getting emotional. Okay. Um, I think of his mother. That's the kind of thing I think of. I think of his mother because his mother actually kind of reminds me of my grandmother. Uh, just, very simple, very loving, and that's that. But Stephen Smith deserves justice. He was found in the middle of the road after he was having car trouble. And he he kind of tutored Buster. uh Stephen Smith was an extremely intelligent young man, and that's how him and Buster kind of got close. And there is accounts that him and Buster had kind of a relationship. Even one of uh, Stevens and Buster's teachers thought there may have been kind of something going on between the two of them. But now, Stephen Smith, his family, and also I just want to note that Stephen's father died 2 months after Stephen died. And his mom said that he died from a broken heart. That he died from a broken heart. And can you imagine? I mean, I don't know how I can just only, I pray that I hate that any parent has to go through that. Hate it. Here is a picture of Stephen Smith's grave, and there is a wonderful gentleman on YouTube. He's a local reporter in uh, in South Carolina. He and several of his viewers bought this grave, this headstone for his family. So they are trying to now get an independent autopsy for Stephen Smith, and they are trying to raise money for an independent autopsy. Now, it just so happens Weasley little Alex Murdaugh, and I believe it was his brother, they hadn't even taken Stephen out of the road yet. And Alec Murdaugh and one of his brothers, I believe it was one of his brothers. It was another attorney, I'll just say that. was at the crime scene. You know how they call them ambulance chasers? Well, Alex Murdaugh was the epitome, if it suited him, right? Yeah, it was his brother. Okay, thank you, Randy. Thank you. Was at the crime scene saying, "Let me take care of this for you." Do I think Buster is next? I think Buster has a high probability, yes. And I think, uh, it's, to be honest with you, it seems like it's going to be like father, like son, like father, like son. I mean, think about this, guys. Alex Murdaugh, God only knows what more is going to come out about him. Just imagine. God only knows what else is going to come out about him. How the bodies are piling up. Although Paul had essentially, you know, there had been killed someone in a boat wreck. And then if we have Buster over here, who a lot of accounts think that he is involved, that would make the father and both sons alleged, well, Alec Murdaugh, he is convicted murderer, but the other two, the boys, would be alleged at this point. Have them all three murdering. The apple had, yes, that's exactly right, Daisy. The apple hadn't fallen so far from the tree. You're exactly right. Exactly right. So Stephen Smith's death has been considered very mysterious since he had been found dead in the middle of a South Carolina road in 2015. So he was the very first to die in this saga. If if the Murdaughs are connected. And questions only have intensified since 2021 murders in Maggie and Paul Murdaugh, a mother and son from a prominent South Carolina family. Now, listen, as the investigation was happening for Paul and Maggie Murdaugh, a few days later into the investigation, they immediately opened up Stephen Smith's case because they found what they believe a connection. Now think about that. They're, trying to do this investigation for Paul and Maggie, and what do you know, within 2 weeks of the investigation, they reopen up Stevens. Stephen Smith was only 19 years old. He was a nursing student from Hampton, South Carolina. He was found dead in the early morning hours of July 8th, 2015. He was discovered lying in the middle of a dark country road 3 miles away from where his car had run out of gas. With deep gashes in his forehead, several news outlets reported authorities initially thought Smith had been shot, but his death was later ruled a hit and run, a claim that his mother, Sandy Smith, disputes to this day. And just so you know, Sandy Smith is not the only one. There was several, particularly one detective who was really questioning around, and he thought from the beginning this was just no hit and run. But as the Murdaughs had, none of this had happened yet. The boat accident hadn't happened yet. Paul and Maggie hadn't happened yet. Gloria hadn't happened yet, this is when the Murdochs still could make things go away on their own. And this investigator fought tooth and nail. But guess what? He can only do so much. He's not the end all be all. And when his family pretty much was, or they knew someone who could make it go away. Sandy and I both believe Sandy and I believe that this was a murder. Smith's family attorney told People magazine last year in 2022, whoever did this to Stephen should go to prison. I agree. Whether it was a hit and run or not, he was found in the middle of the road. Stephen Smith's case was initially investigated by South Carolina Highway Patrol. They had to take over the case because of what road he was found on, before going cold in 2016. It never went cold. People just made them shut up about it. In this investigation, the Murdoch name, a powerful local family known for their long-standing law firm, was mentioned dozens of times as possible being connected to the Smiths' deaths. Now, there is recordings. I think I've actually played them before, shared them before. I don't have them pulled up right now, but of people talking about Stephen Smith's death and how Paul Murdaugh and two other men were involved. In my opinion, my theory is, this is not a fact, this is just my theory. I feel like Stephen believed that he could rely on Buster to come and pick him up. It's in the middle of the morning, like early morning. And Buster was with his buddies, and they got him in the car. And Buster may have been embarrassed, and they did something to him. That's my theory. Very sad. So in June 2021, nearly 6 years after Stephen Smith was found dead, South Carolina's top law enforcement agency announced that they were opening an investigation into his death. The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, also known as SLED, revealed in a statement that the investigation was launched, quote, based upon information gathered during the course of the double murder investigation of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh, end quote. There is no coincidence, in my opinion. I'm just saying, no coincidence. Because everyone thought the Murdaughs were connected to Stephen Smith before. After their deaths, after Paul and Maggie's death, it's like, oh, well, SLED saying, oh, we're opening this back up. We found something in this investigation. Hello. SLED did not specify what information had led them to open the investigation. We've been waiting on this forever, Sandy Smith said at the time. Stephen always been put on the back burner. It's like nobody's looking for answers. Stephen has no justice, end quote. Since the investigation into Smith's death was announced, Alex Murdaugh, Maggie's husband and Paul's father, was found guilty. Obviously, we know that. And Sandy Smith says, I just want to know what happened to my son. I am going to do whatever it takes to get justice for my son. And here is a picture of Stephen Smith. He was just a full of energy young man. They say extraordinarily intelligent. He helped tutor people, and he wanted to be a nurse, which nurses, hats off to them because they help people. You have to be a caring human being to be a nurse. In the early morning hours of June 8th, 2015, Stephen was found dead in the middle of a dark Hampton County road. He had a 7.25-inch gash on the right side of his forehead, as well as a partially dislocated right shoulder and cuts and bruises on his right hand, according to Fitz News. Love Fitz News. I'm a subscriber to them. His car was located 3 miles away with the gas cap unscrewed and his wallet still inside. This was nothing more, in my opinion, than a hate crime. According to Hampton County's Guardian, Smith was on his way home from a night class at the Orangeburg Calhoun Technical College, where he was studying nursing when he ran out of gas on Highway 601. Authorities believe he had began walking along Sandy Run Road, a claim his family disputes. Stephen would never have been walking in the middle of the roadway, the family told the investigators, saying he was skittish. Smith's mother, Sandy, later reiterated that the same point to the Hampton County Guardian. I just don't believe my son would have been walking in the middle of the road like that. This was a straight stretch. Sepsis, thank you so much for becoming a member. Welcome to the family. Guys, welcome Sepsis to the family. Thank you so much, my dear. Now, the road that Stephen Smith was found on, it is straight as an arrow. You could hear a car coming and see a car coming, particularly in a country road, because there's no street lights or anything, and you could see it coming way off in the distance. So why would he would have gotten out of the middle of the road, even if he was in the middle of the road? You would step along the side of the road, but he was literally on the as in the middle of the road, as middle as you can get. Authorities initially thought Stephen suffered a gunshot wound to his head. A detailed timeline of the events immediately following Smith's death revealed that authorities initially believed Stephen had suffered a gunshot wound to the head. South Carolina Highway Patrol officer stated that there was possible gunshot wound to the victim's head and that the death appeared to be a homicide. Smith's case file stated, at the scene of the incident, Hampton County Coroner Ernie Washington referred to Stephen's head wound as a gunshot wound, pointed to the bullet entry point, and referred to the death as homicide. The deputy coroner, presented Kelly Green, also verbally affirmed that it was a homicide to the SCHP officers present. However, a search for cartridges cases in the morning of Smith's death turned up empty. According to the case file, SHCP officers returned to the scene the following day, July 9th, to hunt for any evidence within 100 yards of where Stephen's body was found, but there was nothing. Stephen's autopsy also found no bullet fragments. He was not shot, people. He was not shot. Smith's death was ruled a hit and run. Despite the initial belief that Stevens' head injury was the result of a gunshot wound, his head was ruled his death was ruled a hit and run by Dr. Aaron Presnell at the Medical University of South Carolina. The autopsy was conducted at 12:30 p.m. July 8, 2015, found that Stephen had died from blunt head trauma from a motor vehicle crash. People thought that it was like a mirror that came and hit him, but I still don't believe that, personally. In light of historical information and the autopsy findings, it is in the opinion of the pathologist that the decedent died as the result of blunt head trauma sustained in a motor vehicle accident or vehicle crash in which the decedent the pedestrian was struck by a vehicle. SHHP officers were apparently skeptical of the hit and run ruling from the beginning. According to Stevens' case file, Dr. Presnell reportedly told SCHP officer that no glass fragments or any other evidence from a motor vehicle were found on Stephen Smith. Listen, you get hit by a vehicle, it is not pretty, people. It's not pretty. I'm telling you. Even just at something at 35 miles an hour it's a lot of force going down the road. A lot of force going down the road. There was no glass, there was no paint, he wasn't knocked out of his shoes. And the only thing he had a cut on was the 7.25 inch on his forehead, and he had a hole, and that's it. That is literally it. I'm trying to fix my fan. Okay, where was I at? A search of the scene on Sandy Run Road also found no debris or tire marks consistent with a motor vehicle crash. The case file read, and Smith was found with his loosely tied shoes still on his feet, and his clothes appeared untouched, end quote. So you mean to tell me that this young man had loose fitting shoes on? He still was not knocked out of them. I don't care if you got tight shoes on. They'll knock you out. Your clothes will be hanging off or shredded. Telling you. All right. The coroner told the state police investigator he disagreed with the autopsy filings. In August 2015, Coroner Ernie Washington, who was present on the scene with Smith's body was found, told lead investigators Todd Proctor that he did not agree with the autopsy findings. Proctor's case notes from the conversation detailed that Washington said, quote, he does not agree with the pathologist that the victim was struck by a motor vehicle, end quote. Proctor, who no longer works for SCHP, later echoed similar doubts about the hit and run in June of 2021. Nothing about this case from the very beginning pointed toward it being a hit and run, end quote, Proctor said. He continued, as an investigator, you go off the evidence. There was no evidence that pointed toward this being a hit and run or a vehicle even being involved in it. It looked like it was more staged, like possibly the body had been placed in the roadway. Because, in my opinion, it was definitely placed in the roadway. The Murdaugh name was mentioned more than 40 times in the investigation of Stephen Smith. Remember, more than 40 times the Murdaughs had been mentioned. This is prior to anything happening, before the boat wreck, before Paul and Maggie, before Gloria, before any of it. And it was mentioned 40 times. The Murdaugh family was first mentioned in relation to Stephen Smith's death on July 17, 2015, in their detailed timeline of the days following the discovery of the body. A member of the Smith family told SCHP that Randy Murdaugh, Alex Murdaugh's brother, had contacted Smith's father on the day of his death and would like to take the Smith case free of charge. He was there during when it was all going on. In the same interview, Smith's family member told SCHP that the first time she went to the store following Smith's death, people approached her and alleged that Buster Murdaugh, Alex's oldest son and a classmate of Stephen's, was responsible. Fitz News reported that neither from Randy nor the tip from Buster were included in the written case notes. It's very convenient and very interesting that the name Murdaugh was never written in the notes. How convenient. But this is when Murdaugh had power to their name. Those days are over, right? From that point, the Murdaugh's family name was brought up more than 40 times through the course of the investigation. Additionally, more than half of the people interviewed during the investigation mentioned hearing about rumors of Buster Murdaugh possibly involvement of Stephen Smith's death. However, Buster was never brought in for questioning. You're a Murdaugh. You don't got to worry about it. Never seen an attorney show up at a crime. Yep. Because you know what I think happened? Buster went home and said, I need help. Sure. Let me call my brother. He'll help me. We'll take this case on for free because we want to make sure our asses are covered, in my opinion. There were several theories about Smith's death. During the course of their investigation, the police encountered several theories about the 19-year-old nursing student died. The notes from the case files, as reported by Fitz News, shed light on many rumors that were floating around in the area in the following Smith's death. In one such instance, a friend and a relative to Stephen told police she received a text asking, were Buster Murdaugh and Stephen together? The friend told police she said no, and the person who told the police that he had simply heard the rumor. It is alleged that, Buster and Stephen had um, a relationship, if you will, some sort of intimate relationship, it's alleged. Another individual told police that, quote, certain young men were riding down Highway 601 the night Stephen died, saw him broken down, and turned around. The young men then stuck something out of the window. The individual stated that ended up hitting Smith and killing him. The individual also told police in a face to face meeting that one of the men in the car was reportedly Buster Murdaugh, but that all of the information he provided was only hearsay. Despite the rumors, police never named anyone as a suspect into the death of Stephen Smith. Additionally, the accusations made in those interviews were never proven, and authorities has never called Stephen Smith's death a murder. Well, why can't you even call it a murder? A hit and run is a murder, let alone, he wasn't shot. He was something killed him. Something killed him. And you can't even call it a murder? Was this during football season, July? I don't think it's football season, is it? I mean, I'm not a big football person, but I think that's fall. I'm pretty sure. In 2016, more than a year after Stephen was discovered dead, his mother, Sandy, wrote a letter to the FBI asking for help with the case. My family is in desperate need of your help, Sandy reportedly wrote in her letter. My 19-year-old son, Stephen Nicholas Smith, was murdered on July 8, 2015 in Hampton County, South Carolina. It has been apparent from the first week of the investigation that authorities are covering up critical evidence, and we no longer know who to trust. Sandy went on to describe several issues she had with the investigation into her son's death, including the changing theories on how he died, discrepancies in the 911 log, and authorities' failure to gain access to Stephen's phone. She also disputed the autopsy claim that her son was hit by a car. The investigation is being deliberately derailed, she concluded. We need someone to hold the investigators accountable and access Stephen's phone. They didn't even look at the phone records. Why? That is like Investigator 101. Investigator 101. Why? Because you're afraid Stephen called somebody and they came up there and they did something? This poor mother. The FBI wasn't the only group Sandy reached out in regard to Stephen's case. She told Carolina News and Reporter that she also wrote letters to South Carolina Governor and crime TV personality Nancy Grace, asking them to look into her son's death. I believe Nancy has been doing that as well, because she was down there. Well, she was down there during the trial, but she was down there prior to that, I believe. The investigation into Stephen's death was reopened in June 2021. Here we go back to the Murdoffs. I bet on June 22nd, 2021, SLED opened the investigation into Stephen's death, quote, based upon information gathered during the course of the double murder investigation of Paul and Maggie Murdoff, end quote. However, the spokesperson did not specify what information led them to reopen the investigation. While the many questions about my son's death remain, the actions given give me hope that we'll get justice for Stephen, she said. A lawyer for Smith's family, Mike Himlip, told People magazine, quote, I know there are people who know what happened to Stephen. The only way of doing business in Hampton does not exist anymore. The old way in Hampton doesn't exist anymore. There's a bright light being shined on the county, and anyone who knows anything needs to come forward. I know that they're working hard on this case, or I know they're working hard, and that this is not a cold case, his attorney said. So, an organization called Standing for Stephen, hashtag Standing for Stephen, make a trend, guys, was founded in Stephen's memory. Suzanne Andrews, an accountant for Columbia, South Carolina, founded the group, quote, or hashtag Standing for Stephen in October 2021 with the initial goal of helping the Smith family raise money for a headstone. My son will be 18 in November, and I just couldn't imagine in 6 years that no one had come to Stephen's mom's aid for memorializing her son. Andrews told People there's no family, no community, no friends, no one had come to help to get her a headstone. This is about a child that deserves to be memorialized and commemorated, and a mother to have support that she hadn't had. The group raised more than $40,000 for Smith's headstone, which was placed on his gravesite at a vigil in July 2022, and for a scholarship in Smith's name. Andrew also started a change.org petition for South Carolina to sign a hate crime bill into law. So, yeah, anybody who wants to look at this article later, I'll drop the link there. Oh, we got a new member. Oh, crappy. Who we got a member to? Cindy, welcome, my love. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome to the family. So, now I want to show you something that's quite bizarre. Six bodies and 154 sets of cremated remains recovered from a California warehouse. That is very interesting. And here is the warehouse. Yeah. Did you guys hear about that seaweed that is 5,000 miles long off the coast of Florida? 5,000 miles long. That's almost 2 United States. Almost 2 United States long. They said it grew in January more than it ever normally does. 5,000 miles long, yes. And it's supposed to kill a lot of the coral reefs. It's really bad. Hold on, I'll show it to you. Let me find it. There it is. Let me show you this. It's crazy. Giant seaweed blob with rotten egg smell could cover Florida's beaches. Let's see if it'll play this. $5,000 and it's supposed to be hold on, let me show you that. Let me just show you this one. This is one from CNN, and it kills a lot of things. A lot of things.
Get the things you love without using credit. Acima makes it possible to shop at thousands of retailers.
Okay, we don't need your. This is just crazy. It's like, what else do we need in the world?
Shop today with Acima.
An enormous mass of seaweed has grown to a staggering size in the Atlantic Ocean, raising concerns from scientists. Researchers say this year's bloom of sargassum seaweed is much larger than previous seasons, and it's roughly twice the width of the continental US. Scientists are worried about the environmental and health impact as the seaweed invades coastal ecosystems and covers beaches in the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico. Researchers have found that human activity and climate change are fueling these massive blooms of seaweed. Brian LaPointe is a research professor at Florida Atlantic University's Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute, and he joins me now from Fort Pierce in Florida. Appreciate you being with us.
Well, thank you for the invite.
So, a massive blob of seaweed spanning 5,000 miles is heading straight for the Florida Gulf Coast, so vast, in fact, that it can be seen from space. When do you expect it to hit the coast? And what might this signal for the critical spring break and, of course, the summer months ahead?
Well, the so-called blob of seaweed is this seaweed floating sargassum in the tropical Atlantic Ocean. And that is what we call the Great Atlantic Sargassum Belt. And that sargassum seaweed is moving towards the west and will proceed to move through the Caribbean and up into the Gulf of Mexico and South Florida area in the coming months. And we typically get the peak of that seaweed arriving in Florida around midsummer. July is usually when it peaks.
Yeah, I think I've been there when it's arrived. So why are we seeing such a massive blob of seaweed at this time? What's causing it? And how big a threat does it pose to residents and to sea life?
Well, this is an unusual year in that this sargassum bloom in the Great Atlantic Sargassum Belt started early. It doubled in size between December and January. In 1 month, it doubled in size and was larger in January than it has ever been since this new region of sargassum growth began in 2011. So this is an entirely new oceanographic phenomenon. Previously, the Sargasso was in the Sargasso Sea to the north. That is the central gyre of the North Atlantic Ocean, and would circulate in the currents around that, as well as through the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. So this is a whole new thing. And this is the source of this sargassum seaweed that is creating such a problem, really a catastrophic problem for tourism in the Caribbean region, where it piles up on beaches up to 5 or 6 feet deep on the beaches in some places. In fact, in Barbados, just last week, they reported they need 1,600 dump trucks a day to clean the beaches of this seaweed to make it suitable for
1,600 dump
tourists
trucks
and
a day.
recreation on the beaches. And where it comes ashore in the mangroves, it comes in such large quantities that it basically sucks the oxygen out of the water and creates what we refer to as dead zones. These are normally nursery habitats for fisheries, and once they're devoid of oxygen, we have lost that habitat. They are also harmful to seagrasses and coral reefs, and obviously to human health as well, because when they rot, they release toxic hydrogen sulfide gas. They have a high concentration of arsenic.
Yes, I think we should send Dre out with a fork and some goggles. She would love it. That's what I said last night in nurses. Yeah, but yeah, they are. Someone was mentioning in chat if that's right, always late. Exactly. I was talking. Oh, someone was asking in chat about Stephen Smith if there was a autopsy report. I don't believe. I will check that though, and see if his old autopsy report is. But they are raising money right now to do a independent autopsy, and I don't blame them for wanting to do an independent autopsy, paying for it themselves. That way, there's no trickery. Spike the like. I like that. Spike the like. All right. So here's where the 6 bodies and 154 sets of cremated remains recovered from a California warehouse. The discovery this month of 6 human bodies and dozens of sets of cremated remains stored illegally in San Francisco Bay Area warehouse has led to a daunting task to reunite them with their next of kin. While 5 of their bodies were identified, the public's help is needed to establish the name of the 6 persons and to reunite the families with the 154 sets of cremated remains found at a facility. And here is the facility. Ocean View Cremations was storing the remains in a warehouse in Hayward. Officials said the crematorium business license was suspended in March of 2018, and its funeral establishment license was delinquent for about 2 months in 2022 before it was renewed. It makes you have you guys ever seen, there was a funeral home several years ago. They had dead bodies out in like vans and stuff parked out in like the basking hot summer heat. These are people's loved ones. People's loved ones. You bet the place is so haunted. Maybe. So their what was it? Their license was shut down, and the Ocean View had continued in operation in a new location, but that it was never inspected or approved by the state, and keeping remains in an unauthorized facility. On March 1st, the State Funeral Bureau and the funeral home contacted by the county went to the warehouse, leading to investigate of 5 of human bodies. Ocean View funeral director Robert Smith was unable to provide viable information to identify the 6th body, which is believed to be from Sonoma County, officials said. Relatives of the deceased told authorities that they initially tried to contact Smith and their loved ones, but they never heard back. They assumed they had either been cremated or scattered at sea as requested. Can you imagine people calling to want to know where their loved ones are? Now, a lot of people, particularly if you can't afford a funeral, or I guess it's your request, they will cremate you, and after so many cremations have happened, they will send it out to sea, the cremains. And I mean, there's the cremation is one thing, but God, there's 6 bodies, like bodies, that's in this place. Oh. Stephanie, thank you so much for the Cash App, my love. Thank you. It's very kind of you. So, the funeral home that took possession of the cremated remains declined to make a comment. I bet you they did. They need to, these families need to sue the hell out of them, in my opinion. It's very disturbing. It's very disturbing. Just like there was, oh my God, a few years ago, they was getting ready to put like the casket in the ground, and they look and there's a foot, like a foot, sticking out of the side of the grave, the dug grave. Just a foot. And people and the family's like, oh my God. You can look that story up. Just Google foot sticking in grave or something like that. Oh yeah, you can see the foot. It's creepy as hell. So yeah. Now I want to tell you, okay, we talked about Stephen Smith. Now, Nathan Millard. We talked about Nathan Millard. He's the young dad, fairly young dad, who went on a business trip in Louisiana, very successful, married man with children. There's been an arrest. Thank God. There's been an arrest. This guy you see with the blue background, he is the suspect. Now, remember, he was found rolled up in carpet and plastic. You can't do that dead. Just an FYI. If anyone's, wanting to know. Nathan Millard twist as person of interest in custody after missing dad of 5's body found in Baton Rouge parking lot. Now, he went to like a gentleman's club that evening. He got a little tipsy. He was seen walking around drunk and all that. But the last time he was found was at a Greyhound bus station. Nothing normal happens at a Greyhound bus station. Let's just say that. Like nothing. Here's the guy. All persons are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. This guy's name is Derek Perkins, 45 years old, was arrested Monday evening in Baton Rouge. Millard's body was found wrapped in a rug in a vacant lot on March 6th, right here. Now, Derek Perkins is being held. Hold on. One second. In the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison for probation violations, criminal damage to property, 3 counts of access device fraud, and unauthorized use of a vehicle, according to the Baton Rouge Police Department. Authorities said Perkins was last seen driving a 2003 Toyota Camry in South Baton Rouge, where Millard was last seen. Millard's body was found on March 6, wrapped in a rug in a vacant lot beside a highway about 3 miles from Happy Irish Pub, where he was last spotted on February 22nd. A bypasser called 911 after smelling a foul odor in the area. It's just something I don't think I can ever forget, the man told Unfiltered by Karen, who confirmed his identity with EquiSearch, a nonprofit group that led the search for Millard, 42, with Baton Rouge police. The man recalled driving through North Baton Rouge on around 3 a.m. on March 6 when something smelled off. I can only imagine. He said he rolled down his windows and smelled a rotten scent. It smelled like something was bad or something was rotting, he said. At first, I thought it was a dead animal, but I didn't see anything. The man recalled getting out of his car and walking toward a cinder block garage with a flashlight. He then scouted the area and saw a carpet in which Millard's body was wrapped. At first, I thought it was someone throwing out food, and then I saw feet, he said. That's when I got really scared and my stomach was just turning in knots. The man said he was terrified at the grisly sight of the body. I was really terrified because I had never seen or found a deceased person. I was pretty much terrified because I didn't know what happened. The married father of 5 from Georgia had been in Baton Rouge on a business trip. Miller, a construction executive, was last seen on February 22nd after he went to Louisiana State University basketball game and Happy Irish Pub in the downtown area with a client. The 42 years old was seen exiting the bar at 11:30 p.m. and was captured on surveillance walking toward the Courtyard Marriott Hotel where he was staying, about 2 minutes away by foot. WBRZ said that Millard was cut off at the bar the night before because he had too much to drink. His client raised the alarm after they were supposed to meet up at the job site the following morning at 8. By 9 a.m. local time, there was no sign of Millard, and the client decided to go to the hotel and request a wellness check after his wife, Amber, told affiliate WXIA. His wallet and phone were reportedly found several blocks away from the hotel, but there was no sign of him. According to Millard, friend Matt Still, the missing man's family said police showed them footage of someone using his debit card. They reportedly told the family that the card had been used several times following the disappearance. How stupid are people to sit there and watch, like, use someone's card? Like, you're going to get caught, dude. Like, there's cameras everywhere. Swipe. Well, now it's like a chip, but it's just absolutely crazy. So a lot of people feel like this could be drug related. He was out of town. He was on business, but he's a dad, and he probably just wanted to maybe chill a little bit. And I think he went to the Greyhound bus, maybe to buy a little bump or something, if you know what I mean. And someone robbed him and killed him. Could have went bad. So he leaves behind a wife, 2 teen boys from a previous marriage, 2 teen stepsons, and a 7-year-old daughter. Very sad. I'll keep you guys updated on that. I do want to keep you guys updated on that. And one more thing, I think, before I go. Okay. Yeah, one more thing about a Texas mom that I'm going to be following. Texas mother and grandmother arrested after 4-year-old child allegedly killed with an edged weapon. Here's the two beasts. You're donking laughing. You're fucked up. Still water's gone. You're funny. So this is in Athens, Texas. Do we have any Texas people in here? Any Texas? Put a 1 in the chat. They look alike, like mother, like daughter, right? 4-year-old. The mother and grandmother, they were arrested and charged in connection with the death of a 4-year-old child who was reportedly killed over the weekend. On March 13th, so 3 days ago, at approximately 6:41 a.m., Mary Johnson called the Athens Police Department and reported that she believed her daughter, Monica, had hurt her son. Officers responded to the home on Mitchell Street, where they reportedly found the child deceased and, quote, partially covered with a blanket, end quote. The sheriff's office determined that the child, Grayson, had been killed on Sunday, March 12th. So they wait a day. Johnson allegedly heard the boy scream and then witnessed her daughter on top of a rolled blanket, cutting it with a wooden handled knife. Eventually, the screaming stopped. The grandmother, the mother threatened the grandmother and ordered her to leave the home, and she did. When Johnson returned to the home the next day, the child was dead, and she called for help. She should have called right then and there when she left. Hello? She should have knocked her off the kid, is what she should have done. The Southwestern Institute of Forensic Science in Dallas will perform an autopsy, but investigators believe the child was killed with an edged weapon. Henderson County Sheriff Bodie Hillhouse told KYTX TV that the mother confessed to the slaying of her son. She was reportedly charged with capital murder and is awaiting arraignment. According to the sheriff's office, a judge issued an arrest warrant against Johnson for endangering child, and her bail was preset at $250,000. Grayson was the only child in the home and the mother's only children that are and other children of hers are not in custody. Thank God. And that just goes to show you right there, in my opinion, this is exactly why Dawn and Candace don't have the other kids. And they will not get them back, in my opinion, until they find out what happened to Summer. Well, I mean, they won't have a chance of getting them back. I don't think they're going to have a chance at all anyways to begin with. But the other kids of hers were taken out of the home, probably from a different time. Yeah. And I don't think they're going to get them back to begin with, in my opinion. I mean, I just don't. I don't, and I don't think it's hold on one second. Here is another. We're going to talk about Don and Candace later this evening. They were kind of weird. Dad and daughter face murder charges after newborn boy left to die alone in snow despite safe haven laws. Here they are. An Iowa father and his daughter both face first-degree murder charges after a newborn boy was left to die alone on the side of a snowy road in a state where safe haven laws would have immunized them from prosecution had they had just left the baby at an authorized location. Now you're going to be facing murder charges. Someone said they had court yesterday. I don't know if that's true or not. I know that that's a rumor. Okay. I don't think they have court till ICU. Is it May? It might be April. I am male. I am male. That's what my pronouns are. I am male. I'm a prissy boy that wears makeup. That's all. So, thank you for asking though. So, Megan K. How do you pronounce her name? Stodd? Okay, I was right. Megan K. Stodd, 25, gave birth to a baby at her home in February, only to discard the helpless newborn with her 64-year-old father, Rodney Stodd, the Norwalk Police Department announced on Monday. You know something? I'm just saying, I haven't read this article yet, but could there be a little bit of ancestral thing going on here? Is that why she did this? I don't know. I just get this weird vibe between the two of them. You know what I mean? Just kind of getting this weird vibe. Ugh. On March 8th, the Norwalk Police Department was contacted with concerns for the safety of the child in Norwalk. Authorities said that Megan Stodd's co-workers were the ones who raised those concerns that day. They noticed that she was no longer pregnant and were suspicious. And at least one neighbor was shocked but not surprised. Honestly, I was pretty appalled. Not really surprised though, just because the vibes they gave. One of the neighbors said they were kind of weird. The report noted that the residence where Megan Stodd gave birth is considered unsafe to occupy. Investigators allege that Rodney Stodd, which is the father, the grandfather, her dad, helped her daughter abandon the victim in a ditch along Delaware Street in Warren County rather than bringing the baby to a safe haven as defined by Iowa. The Safe Haven Act allows parents or another person who the parents authorize to leave an infant up to 90 days old at a hospital or healthcare facility without fear of prosecution for abandonment. A parent may also contact 911 and relinquish physical custody of an infant up to 90 days old to the first responder of the 911 call. More than 50 children have been declared safe havens since the Iowa law was enacted in 2002. All states have safe haven laws, although provisions differ. I don't know. I feel like there's something a little weird between her and her dad. I don't know. Roxy, your mother-in-law canceled on you. Don't you hate that? You make plans with someone, and you're like, why did I make plans? I want to stay at home today. And then they cancel, and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry. We'll have to do it another time. And the other time, you're like, yes. You're so happy. Safe haven equals life. Absolutely. Yeah, you're fine, Lisa. You're fine, honey. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Hopefully, something happens soon. I feel like something may happen in the Summer Wells case soon. I think, in my opinion, right after Don and Candace have lost all rights of the kids, if that happens, which I probably think it will, I think that's when they may move. Yeah, Mohawk, I think that they should do a paternity test. I mean, a 60-some-year-old grandfather, why would he do that to their grandchild? College is closed, so our tax office is off for the week. Nice, sunny, clear, about 65. Nice next to wash doggies. Ooh. Did you ever hear about the missing female Megan Lancaster in Ohio? Yes, I've heard that name. Let's see here. Yes, here we go. Megan Lancaster. Yes, I know that name. Know that face. On April 3rd, she went missing 2013. Did they find her? Did they find her? Thank you, Debbie. Good to see you, honey. Buckeye Gal, did they find her? And her sister-in-law. Oh my God. And her sister-in-law was found dead? That kind of reminds you of like the Bardstown Crystal Rogers case. It's like that doesn't happen unless someone is, you're looking for someone. But you got something against someone. Definitely. Are you planning covering the Gannon Style case? The trial starting soon. Yes, I will be covering that. That one, oh God, that one really breaks my heart, to be quite honest with you. And I just want to let you guys know I will be obsessed with the Lori Vallow case. Just an FYI. It was the one that got me deeper into true crime. Like, it got me crazy. She wasn't found, but her sister-in-law was searching for her, and when she was found dead. That's crazy. That's insane. Yay, Mama's the Boss is going to be right there with me. Yay. Yes, guys, please hit the thumbs up. I would really, really, really appreciate it. I'm waiting on the suitcase murder trial. That's crazy. Did you ever see her interrogation? Oh my God. If you have not seen the suitcase, I forget her name, suitcase murder, go watch. Go look up glass case. Okay. Is it Giante? Oh my God. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I will be live later this evening. I'm going to be doing some fragrance. My current favorite fragrances. So, if you like perfume, cologne, this will be men and women's because I wear both. I wear probably more women's than men. Yes, I got my Tom Ford, and I've got a video I've got to drop on my Tom Ford. I told Marissa, I said, I'll pay you for it if I like it. If not, I'm going to send it back to you. And you know what? I loved it, actually. I love it. But if you like perfume and fragrances and all smelly good stuff and all that, my dream is to create a fragrance one day. I want my own fragrance. And you know what? My favorite fragrance in the entire world, which I'm not going to tell you now because you have to wait for the video or wait for the live. They quit making it. They quit fucking making my favorite perfume. And I'm going to have perfume because I don't care about the cost. If I like the smell of it, I like the smell of it. Period. I don't care if it comes from the damn Dollar Tree or if it comes from Saks Fifth. If I like it, I'm going to wear it. And I'm not going to be ashamed. Okay? So, my love nosy, Chanel is one of them. But it's not number 5. I don't like Chanel number 5. I don't like it. Look, it's like Family Feud. Tiffany. You know something? Tiffany, is that recent? Gallo case is not going to be televised now. I'm going to try to go, but I think we should go in the middle of the trial or at the end of the trial. She's obsessed. Really? You know, I mean, Chanel number 5 is, I like it if you're of a woman of a certain age and well kept. But I don't like it. I think it's okay maybe on the winter and stuff, but it just not my style. Chanel, beautiful, taboo, Giorgio. Well, we'll be talking about it this evening. I have a lot of fragrances. Ridiculous amount of fragrances. Message Jessica is spoiled and get your custom makeup palette that you designed. She would. Jessica is spoiled. I don't know if I know her. Interesting. Do you like Versace Bright Crystal? I do. I love it. I love it. I'm going to be showing fragrances that are on the lighter scent that I like, and I'm going to be showing fragrances that are on heavier scents. So, where do we get good fragrance samples? Like you don't have to pay for, or you have to pay for? Because I don't know where you don't have to pay for. I thought about doing a fragrance channel actually, because I love, like, to me, fragrance is everything. It's everything to me. Because you can smell something and it brings you back to a good time, a romantic time, a fun time, an awful time. You know, many different times. Yeah, Pat, no one gives them anymore. It's terrible. So that's, I just love fragrance. Do you do scent? I'll tell you. I'll show you the one I do this evening. How about that? I'm not going to answer that. I'll tell you the one I do this evening. But Chanel, very heavy smell. It is a very heavy smell. Yes. Eau de Lancôme. Yeah. So I'll be showing just different my current favorites. We'll say that. All right, guys. I'll see you later. It really does invoke memories. So Waters, it really does. It really does. Or it also it can make you, like, fantasize or whatever. It can, you smell a nice man, Ralph Lauren's old burgundy bottle. Yes, they do. They do. Yep, sure do. All right, guys. Love you long time. I'll talk to you later. I'll see you in a little bit. I may be on my other channel here in a little bit, driving or something. So if you want to come over there. All right. Okay. Bye bye.